Hey, so we have a big breaking news coming out. Please share this video. Today is March 24, 2025, and welcome to the Real GS News channel. Guys, before I start, give this video a big thumbs up. And once again, thank you so much for your support. US allies considering their own nukes. US allies in Europe and Asia are exploring options to develop their own nuclear weapons amid U.S. President Donald's stance towards Russia. The U.S. President's pivot to Moscow has prompted Washington allies to consider how to prepare for a potential withdrawal of the U.S. nuclear umbrella. All right, so we're going to see what's going on here. The secret U.S. nuke location. Basically, NATO is preparing for worst case scenario. U.S. leaving again the alliance. Alright guys, before I start, give this video a big thumbs up. For those of you that want to send us letters or prayer requests, you can send it to me, US Santiago, or my wife Jessica Santiago. My address is highlighted in yellow. And for those of you that want to contribute to the channel, we do have the PayPal link and the Cash App link in the description box and also the comments box. Thank you so much for your support. Alright, so Taz is putting out this information. And we're going to see what's going on here. U.S. allies considering their own nukes amid Donald's shift to the bear. And today there was that very important meeting in Saudi Arabia between the U.S. and the bear. A 12-hour meeting behind closed doors. 12 hours. And according to the White House, it was a very, it was a good meeting. 12 hours, I mean, that's a long time. So German officials are concerned, as privately, they have reeled from the pace of events since Donald took office. Basically, Donald is not showing that he's willing to stand with NATO. He's basically want to pull us out from the alliance. We're putting too much money. We're putting almost $1 trillion, while the others are putting 10 billion, 5 billion, 20 billion. And Donald said enough is enough. You know, we're going to pull from this alliance. All right, so Taz is putting out the information. U.S. allies in Europe and Asia are exploring options to develop their own nuclear weapons amid sleeping giant leader Donald stands towards the bear. And according to the newspaper, the U.S. leader pivot to Moscow and scatting disregard for NATO has prompted Washington allies to consider how to prepare for a potential withdrawal of the U.S. nuclear umbrella. Now, Emmanuel Macron, he said that he has like 290, 300 nuclear warheads, and he don't mind spreading it throughout the entire European regions, which, again, the bear didn't like that one bit. They find it as a threat. So the deteriorating great power consensus on non-proliferation is real. The FT quoted Kent Panda as saying that, give me a second here, guys. Donald phenomenon has provided a powerful accelerant for voices in U.S. ally states who now see nuclear weapons in their own hands as fundamentally solving the problem posed by American unreliability, he maintained. German officials are concerned, as privately they have reeled from the pace of events since Donald took office, the FT writes. Now, former German ambassador to Washington told the newspaper that any real suggestion of Germany joining the club of nuclear powers would risk undermining global trust. We will risk losing most of the trust we have been able to build over the last 5 years, 5 or 6 decades, after the catastrophe of WW2, he argued. While Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk raised the idea of pursuing nuclear weapons, for Poland to develop nukes from scratch is too costly. Now, this person here, a board director of Poland's defense manufacturer PGZ, told the FT, adding that the country does not have enough time to do it. So South Korean expert told the FT that support for South Korea capital Seoul acquiring its own nuclear weapon is growing. South Korea has the basic technology to make nuclear equipment and already has experience of producing a very small volume of plutonium and uranium. This person here, professor of the nuclear engineering at Seoul National University, told the newspaper. Let's stop here for a second. It seems like all these countries right now, they want nukes. Iran, you have all these regions, everybody wants nukes for peaceful purposes, basically. And we are definitely seeing that these nation against nations are building up. Nuclear, again, it's not a good thing. Donald said it himself. We need to decrease, not increase. And I think it was Donald that said it. We're spending all this money, a lot of money, building these powerful Armageddon toys, which could lead to the end of humanity. We basically spending money for the end of the world. And is absolutely true. So Mr. Lee, a researcher at the Korea Institute of Science and Technology, Evaluation and Planning, claims that Seoul, the capital of South Korea, can make nukes in about 2 years. So they declare a national emergency and mobilize all national resources. I don't know how's that going to work out, knowing that you have North Korea, and they're going to find that as a big threat if South Korea builds nukes. So in Japan, there have been a quiet debate about nukes in some circles, even as the topic of possessing nuclear equipment has been the greatest political taboo in the country's post-war history. A high-profile Japanese official told the FT that there had always been discussion on the matter among a small number of the most hawkish politicians, and that the circle of participants may now be enlarging. So once again, this is where we are right now. You have all these nations, well, most of them is NATO. They are very concerned about the U.S. and the U.S. is going to pull out possibly, so they are preparing for worst case scenario. U.S. allies considering their own nukes. And again, Emmanuel Macron, he came out, he was one of the first. He said that he's willing to give his nukes to friendly countries in Europe to protect the European against the bear, again, Russia. So what do you guys think about this? And like I said, nation against nations are building up, but having nukes, yeah. You have Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, Italy. Give me a second here, guys. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so nation against nations are preparing for worst case scenario. Guys, I want to bring this up really quick. We have big breaking news. 5 minutes ago, DEF CON just posted this. U.S. conducts strike on these group again in Yemen. Alright, once again, you have the USS Truman as these group claim retaliatory strike on a carrier. So they said that they hit it with their hypersonic and ballistic and drones. But it's not 100% damage because, again, we are seeing an operation going on right now. The USS Truman Carrier Strike Group has been actively engaged in operation against those group in Yemen, with Sleeping Giant Central Command, CENTCOM, confirming strikes as recently as March 15, 2025, and referencing the carrier's role in social media statement on March 24, 2025. All right, so that's coming out right now. So CENTCOM is putting us a lot of information tonight. So this is the one right here. This is the one. Oof. Hopefully I don't get hit hard with that one. So these group have launched another strike against a sleeping giant aircraft carrier in the Holy Land airport in a massive blitz. Let's see what's going on here. This is an update, all right? So a lot of information is coming out. So we're going to jump from nation against nation here, guys. But it seems like the ship Truman has not been hit 100% because this massive operation going on tonight, SETCOM just put out info that there's a strike going on Yemen. So once again, Yemen Persia-backed group claim responsibility for launching a significant strike of missiles and drones targeting both the sleeping giant aircraft, once again, Truman. Now, Truman in the Red Hot Sea and the Holy Land Airport International Airport near Tel Aviv. All right, so we did talk about this one here, guys. So the Holy Land is safe. The Holy Land is safe. They had, air raid blasting and shelter was open, but everything seems like it's good out there. This event marks a dramatic intensification of the group's operation amid ongoing sleeping giant airstrike on these group control areas in Yemen and heightened tensions in the Middle East tied to the conflict in the Strip. According to the news, these group announced that they fired 2 ballistic at the Holy Land airport while simultaneously targeting the Truman and accompanied the sleeping giant warship with an array of ballistic and cruise and drones. These group military spokesmen described the operation as a success, claiming it was part of a broader campaign to retaliate against the sleeping giant the Holy Land action in the region. It wasn't a success. It wasn't. Because, again, there's still massive operation going on right now. SETCOM just put out the info. You have USS Truman doing their thing right now. In the Holy Land, they put out their info. The airport has not been hit. The group has repeatedly linked its strike to solidarity with the palace in the Strip, where Holy Land recently resumed military operation following the collapse of a ceasefire earlier this year. The news reported that Holy Land military intercepted a missile launch from Yemen earlier Thursday, March 20th, marking the second such incident since the Strip ceasefire unraveled. Once again, these groups claim this earlier strike also targeted the airport, though the Holy Land defenses neutralized the projectile before it crossed into the Holy Land territory. And I did mention this, the Holy Land, they do have missile defense system, the Iron Dome, which is very powerful. And that's something that Donald wants here in America, but they're going to change the name to the Golden Dome instead of the Iron Dome. No casual, or significant damage were reported, but the recurring strike have heightened regional tensions. The latest assault on March 24, if confirmed, will represent an even bolder move by these groups against the Holy Land infrastructure. Meanwhile, these group claims of striking the Truman have not been independently verified. You got the New York Times noted that the sleeping giant Central Command has conducted multiple precision strikes on the group targeting in recent days, including command facility and weapon storage sites in Yemen's capital. These operations, part of a broader sleeping giant campaign under Donald to curb these group aggression, have reportedly taken dozens and aim to degrade the group ability to, skip the name there, maritime trade and U.S. assist. However, the sleeping giant has not yet commented on the alleged strike on the Truman, leaving these group claims unconfirmed as of Monday evening. Once again, you have the news coverage highlighted the context of these group offensive, noting that the group fired a ballistic towards the Holy Land airport on March 20th, intercepted by the Holy Land, and follow up with further warnings after the Sleeping Giant strikes has taken out at least 53 in Yemen over the weekend. Give me a second here, guys. The groups have vowed to escalate their operation, including against the Sleeping Giant naval forces, in response to what they call the Sleeping Giant aggression. These rebels' earlier attempt to target the Truman on March 16 was reported by the news, with the group claiming to have launched 18 and a drone, though the Sleeping Giant officials have not acknowledged any successful hits on the Sleeping Giant vessels. Reuters added that the Holy Land military intercepted another missile from Yemen on March 22nd, signaling these group persisted effort to strike Holy Land despite intensified Sleeping Giant and Holy Land countermeasures. And one thing I'll tell you guys is that the Sleeping Giant and the Holy Land, they do have some very powerful missile defense system. Because Yemen, they firing ballistic and hypersonic, and those are very powerful missiles. The rebels' ability to sustain such strike underscores their growing sophistication, likely boosted by Persian support, though Persia has denied direct involvement in the latest operation. These group actions have drawn sharp rebukes from the Sleeping Giant leadership. Donald, as reported by the news, warned Persia to cease backing the group, promising that the rebel group will be completely annihilated if their assault persists. This rhetoric aligns with a Sleeping Giant military strategy that has seen continuous airstrike on these group targets since mid-March, aimed at protecting the Red Hot Sea shipping lanes and countering warnings to the Sleeping Giant and ally interests. The news has yet to provide detailed coverage of the March 24 claims, but earlier reports from the outlet emphasized Donald's warning of overwhelming lethal force against these groups, reflecting a hardline stance echoed across conservatives' Sleeping Giant media. Meanwhile, posts on X, such as those from RT and others, officials' accounts indicate that these groups claim to have used a hypersonic in the strike on Holy Land Airport, though no evidence has substantiated this assertion. Now, the situation remains fluid, with the Sleeping Giant and the Holy Land yet to fully respond to these group latest claims. Analysts suggest that while the group have exaggerated past successes, their persistent targeting of high-profile assets like the Truman and the Holy Land Airport demonstrate a willingness to escalate despite significant losses. As of now, the international community watches closely, with the UN calling for restraint to prevent further destabilization in already volatile region. Truly apologize about that word there. All right, so this is where we at right now, guys. This is where we at. The Holy Land is seeing some stuff here, and every day they are blasting their air defense, and many people are heading towards shelters. And I just posted a video not too long ago. There was a wedding going on in the Holy Land, and then you see like missile defense system, like the missile being flown over the wedding party, which a lot of people had to go to a shelter. But everything is safe. I mean, everybody's good. There's no massive hit like that right there. Yeah, I can't show that. Hopefully I don't get hit from the platform. But again, this is where we at right now, guys. I would keep it updated when it comes to nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I got one more video coming up. I just got to take a break. I've been working on the garden, and I'm a little tired right now, guys. I truly apologize if with the mistakes on reading. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. For those of you that want to send us letters or prayer requests, you send it to me, US Santiago, or my wife Jessica Santiago at 3432 US Highway 19, number 2, Holiday, Florida 34691. Once again, guys, $1 a month Patreon. We get to access to our live stream every Monday. We talk about things that we cannot talk about in the platform. Also, I posted videos today. Those links will be in the comments box. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you all. Put faith and trust in Jesus Christ. For He's the only way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father except through Jesus. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time later. Peace.